Welcome to the Art Project. If you are new here, please subscribe. And if you enjoy this video, please give me a thumbs up. We're going to do an exercise where we learn how to draw cubes and we're going to get good at it. So when I was a kid, my Aunt Tanny, someone who probably does not claim, I could be wrong, but I don't think she claims any artistic talent, showed me a very basic way to draw a cube and a cylinder and a couple of other shapes. But for starters, she said draw a square and then draw another square very similar in size to the first one and make them so that their corners overlapped. Really simple. And then you're going to connect the like corners, like the top two left hand corners, the top two right hand corners, the bottom right hand corner, and the bottom left hand corner. And there you have it. You have a cube. If you want to make it look solid, you've got to erase a couple of the lines. So, and it depends which way you want it to face as to which lines you erase. So if you erase the lines of the back square, it's going to face the left, and if you erase the lines of the front square, it's going to face right. You'll catch on as you do this a couple of times. So here I am again, one square overlapping another square, and then you connect the corners. Then you're going to pick a couple of lines to erase, and you'll have a solid cube again. So I'm going to continue to do this, just getting better and better at this little formula of drawing a square, then drawing another similar size square, connecting the corners, and erasing the part that I don't want. You can change this up and get more creative with it as you go. I would do several regular squares first, but eventually you might want to play with the direction that it goes. So for example here, I'm going to start with the back square, and then I'm going to draw a square overlapping it down and to the left instead of up and to the right as I've been doing. And then I'm going to connect the corners, and then of course I'm going to erase what I don't need. And again, it depends on which corners you erase as to which direction it's facing, or twisted or turned upside down, upwards or downwards. And so I'm just going to go ahead and fill the page. One of the things that I have noticed that art students seem to really not like doing is repetition. But you're not really going to get good at anything unless you focus on repetition. So fill the page with 50 different cubes. Fill in all of the space that you possibly can with 50 different cubes. Once you have that done, we're going to make these cubes a little bit fancier. So for example, I'm going to take this first cube that I did, and I'm going to kind of cut a notch out of it. Notice the first line I drew is parallel with the top line. The bottom line that I'm drawing there is parallel with the bottom line, and the back line is parallel with the back line of the cube. This line is parallel with the top of the cube. This line is parallel with the left side of the cube, and this line is parallel with the bottom of the cube. I'm going to erase this line that's in the middle, and then I'm going to draw a line that goes backwards from the corner. And you're going to have to play with this. Like, me trying to explain this to you is really weird. I know that it doesn't make a lot of sense. You have to play with it, look and see if it looks right. If it doesn't look right, change it up. So see, I didn't like the way it looked, so I'm going to change it up a little bit, try again. It's very subtle, but I made it a little bit different, and now I think it looks right. You're going to have to play with this and be creative. You're going to make mistakes. Just be willing to accept the criticism that your teacher gives you. If you have someone coaching you along and trying to show you how to do it, they're going to tell you, hey, this line is crooked, or this line doesn't line up, or this line's not parallel with the line that it needs to be parallel with, and so on. You just got to be open to their coaching and their criticism. So I'm going to take notches out of several of these cubes, and I'm going to try and keep them kind of parallel with the cube. I'm not going to take out any weird circles or weird lines or anything like that. I'm not going to take out any weird slices, but you can be as creative as you want to. I'm just going to try and keep mine sort of parallel with the edges of the cube, the already established edges of the cube, and that kind of helps to make sure that whatever notch I'm taking out is correct. There are things that are correct and things that are incorrect as you do this, and so you just want to try and figure out, like draw something, step back and look at it, and ask yourself if it's correct or not. One of the most important things you can do to learn is repetition, and another thing is to step back and look at it and observe whether it looks right or not. The next thing that I'm going to do is erase everything gently. I don't want to completely erase it. I still want to be able to see it, but I'm going to erase everything so that it's lighter. One of the reasons that I do that is so that it doesn't overpower my Sharpie pen, or in this case my micron pen that I'm using. I'm using an 01 micron pen. It's about the same size as the Sharpie pen, and I'm going to use it to go over all of the lines that I had created with pencil and erased. You can start to see the box sort of coming to life. Now, if I was shading this in with pencil, I probably would not do this. I would just have gone on and started shading things with pencil. But I am using hatching and cross hatching to shade in my boxes. The basic idea here is that you want every plane of every cube to be a slightly different value. Let me rephrase that. You want every plane of a cube to be a slightly different value, and that way you will have contrast. And if you have contrast, it will come to life. It'll look like a three-dimensional cube. So for example, right here I shaded the inside with these horizontal lines, or these vertical lines, and then the outside with the same similar vertical lines. There's a very slight contrast, but I'm going to make it a little bit darker here in the back, and that way it looks like it's up underneath there, just giving it a little bit more contrast to help differentiate it between the inside and the outside. I don't want all sides to be completely white, so I'm giving the right side a slight amount of hatching just to kind of give it a gray. And then you just do the same thing from there. You fill everything in. This cube right here, this particular one that I'm working on, looks really strange with that notch cut out of it, because the notch almost looks like it's coming out from the corner at a weird angle, or like it's a whole nother cube in front of it. But the value that I'm about to add to it, the cross hatching, will really help establish the direction that it's going. Keep in mind that all drawing is an illusion. I'm not really making three-dimensional cubes. I'm making an illusion of a three-dimensional cube. I've also tried on all of these to make sure that my light source is sort of coming from the top, and so I've added, or coming from the top right even, and so all of my light is usually on the top right of each cube. I didn't put a lot of effort into making sure that all of my cubes were exactly shaded exactly the same with the light source coming from the same direction, but I just kind of kept in mind that the light source was from the top right. They're not all perfect. And then spent the rest of my time filling them in. This whole project, this whole page, probably took me an hour and a half. So, I know that seems like a long time for some people, but an hour and a half devoted to your craft, devoted to learning, devoted to creating a project or creating a page in your sketchbook is really not that bad a deal. You will spend hours and hours and hours playing video games or scrolling through TikTok. Spend an hour and a half learning to draw. And that's it. I filled the page. I do have a few blank spots, but overall, I'm pretty happy with it. And my next assignment is going to be cones. I'm going to do as many cones, 50 cones, on a sketchbook page. So look for that one next. Your turn. Go make some art.